Hello and welcome back to Gridiron Gurus. My name is Luke, and joined with me, as always, is
Ryan Green.
And today we are going to be going over the Week 10 slate of games. This will be our last week before we kind of do our playoff push thing, I think, because this first week post trade deadline, nothing really happened at the trade deadline besides like Marshawn Lattimore and like Zarius Smith. There really wasn't any big moves. Pretty boring trade deadline, but pretty solid slate of games. This week. I think we get some good primetime games, especially this Thursday night game. We're filming this on Thursday morning. And we've got Cincinnati at Baltimore.
Yep.
Cincinnati needs to win this game. What are they on the year? They are 4-5.
Yeah.
They don't have to win this game, I guess, but it'd be really useful because Baltimore obviously dropped that game to the Browns that they shouldn't have. So you win this game, and then all of a sudden you're only one game behind the Ravens in the division. Well, I guess the Steelers are up there, but I think you're better than the Steelers. So I'm gonna take Baltimore in this game, though. I just think Lamar Jackson's probably going to win his third MVP. As it currently stands, Derrick Henry is going to win Offensive Player of the Year. As long as neither of them get hurt. That's kind of how it looks right now with how dominant they are. I think the play calling's been great by Todd Monken. I know the defense is bad, or not. The pass rush it's the worst. I think since I don't remember which week it was, but they have the worst pass rush win rate since for the last 5 or 6 weeks. I think it's something like that. They cannot get to the passer at all, and that could cost them in this game, which Cincinnati doesn't have some great offensive line, obviously. But if you can't get to Joe Burrow, he's gonna light you up. So that's the area that I'm okay, if Cincinnati's gonna win this game, it's because Baltimore cannot get home. And I'm surprised they didn't really do anything to address it at the trade deadline.
Yeah, I'm surprised about that too.
I'm very surprised, but I still think that this offense is going to be good enough to get it done against the Cincinnati defense that's been pretty susceptible this year, especially against the run. I expect Derrick Henry to have a big game.
Yeah, I'm expecting that maybe the Giants were asking too much for Azeez Ojulari, because I was that would have been a great pickup if the Baltimore defense were to pick him up, but unfortunately they weren't. But I agree. I think the Bengals run defense is going to be the difference in this game because of the fact that if they actually run with Derrick Henry, I think that they'll be able to hopefully be able to control the game, because like you just said, their pass rush isn't very good. Joe Burrow's going to be able to stay back there, and their secondary has been the best. They have stars there, which haven't been performing the best, but when you have all day to throw, that's what's going to hurt you. So I think it's going to be a high scoring game. I think it's going to be probably in the 30s kind of game. I'm really excited to stream it tonight. But yeah, I'm going with the Ravens as well, just because they're on a roll. Their run, their run game's so good. Tom Monken, I've said it before. I don't know if he would potentially go for a head coaching job because he's a little bit older. But if you keep him for the Ravens, he's going to make Lamar Jackson and stick with Derrick Henry for another 2 years. You're going to have a really great offense for the next couple of years because you have him as at the helm.
Yeah. Well, now we have we're back in Europe. This time they're in München, Germany.
Did you say München?
It's München, isn't it?
Munich.
Munich. I don't give a crap. Munich, whatever.
Yes.
But we have an absolutely terrible game on paper.
Tank bowl for sure.
Hey, it's a tank bowl. The Giants at the Panthers. Panthers coming off a win. Granted, it was against the Saints, who you got Dennis Allen fired.
We are a head coach killer, pretty much.
And the Giants have lost 4 straight. Haven't been competitive in really a lot of those. I mean, they the scores against the Steelers and Commanders look closer because they kind of came back a little bit late, but they were losing pretty badly in all those games. Obviously, the Eagles just killed them. So I'm going to take the Panthers in this game.
Really?
I just don't see it with I this is like a gut call, like literally the last second is like, I don't know. I'm gonna think I don't think Bryce is gonna be terrible. I think he was solid last. I think he was solid last week. And honestly, if you're asking me, I think this quarterback is a wash. And I'm just gonna say, I don't know. I think y'all's running game is a little bit better. I know the defense for the Giants is really good, but at least the front is. But I think y'all's offensive line is really good. So I think that could kind of end up being a little bit of a wash. So I'm just going to be like, my gut call for the week is the Panthers.
That's crazy because I'm actually going with the Giants, but I mainly because of the fact like I think it's going to come down to Robert Hunt versus Dexter Lawrence. If we're actually able to establish a run game, if we're able to kind of like double team on Dexter Lawrence, especially because I'm interested to see. I don't think it has been confirmed yet if uh Ikem Ekwonu is back. If he is back, then that makes it able to be Brady Christensen back at center, which I feel much more comfortable with, instead of Cade Mays at center. So that's the reason why I'm very concerned about that. Obviously, Brian Burns going to his former team. It'll be interesting to see like how that matchup plays out. But as far as like our defense is absolute cheeks, and so I'm thinking that the Giants will still be able to get something going. I don't think it's gonna be a terrible game. I don't think it's gonna be the Patriots and was it the Patriots Colts or Patriots Giants last year that was like absolutely horrid. It was like Mac Jones and it was like 6-3. Like I don't think it's gonna be that bad, but it's still not the best teams. And I don't want to win because I feel like if we win, then it looks bad on Brian Dable, and I don't want him to get fired because I truly do believe that like he's the right coach for the Giants. It's just you haven't had really good drafts. Like Joe Shane's first two draft classes were absolutely tragic. Like Evan Neal is not even playing. He was a seventh overall pick. He's not even playing.
Kayvon Thibodeau has not been super good. Like they've had tons of picks. Like you keep talking real fast. I'm gonna pull something up.
Yeah, I think this draft class is looking pretty good. So hopefully the next draft class they have is gonna play out as well. But I'm picking the Giants to win. But it's kind of I agree. It's definitely a coin flip.
They had pick 5 and pick 7.
Yeah.
So players they could have drafted instead of Kayvon Thibodeau and Evan Neal: Drake London, Charles Cross, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Kyle Hamilton. And those are guys that were all projected to go in that area. I'm not going to say like, oh, they could have drafted this guy. Like, but it's like, I mean,
well, the problem with the Kyle Hamilton thing is they had Julian Love and they had Xavier McKinney, and now they don't have them. That's what I'm saying. Is like
they could have drafted. Like they wanted a tackle. Charles Cross is the best tackle probably from this class.
Yeah, no, he definitely is.
You needed receiver.
He had the yeah,
and they needed a receiver. They could have taken
the pass blocking tackle, but they had Thomas, so it made sense that they didn't go Charles Cross because like we need a right tackle and Charles Cross definitely left tackle, but still, yeah.
And they could have taken. I mean, you needed a wide receiver. You could have taken London. You could have taken Wilson, Olave, Jameson Williams. Like Garrett Wilson. I mean, like whatever. We don't have to delve too, but it's like the drafts that they've had. What was their 2023 draft? Was that Deonte Banks?
Yes, and I hated that draft pick too because I didn't like Deonte Banks.
I didn't
honestly.
Like
Xavier Legette.
I liked their draft initially in 2022. Like I thought Evan Neal and Kayvon Thibodeau were going to be good. Obviously, hindsight's 2020, but like the Deonte Banks pick was never good. Like where's Deonte Banks? I drafted him above. To be fair, I mean a lot of the players after here haven't done anything. It's Mozzie Smith. Dalton Kincaid. I mean, I guess they could have used Dalton Kincaid. He's not bad. Brian Breezy's playing solid. I could have Joey Porter. If they wanted a corner, they could take Joey Porter.
Joey Porter Jr. Because I thought that's who they're going to take.
And you got like Sam Laporta. You got Steve Avila. Matthew Bergeron. Like there's like Joe Tippmann's been good for the Jets. Like Brian Branch. It's just they miss on their. Who was their second round pick in this draft class? Let me see.
I'm trying to think who it was.
John Michael Schmitz. He's
John
not been
Schmitz,
bad.
yep.
He's keeping this draft class from being.
He
'cause
was
I think
terrible
the
his
rest of
rookie year. Yeah, he was terrible his rookie year, and then he came on strong. But we're talking a lot about the Giants, but they have their
Yeah.
own problems for sure.
Yeah, it's just they've missed on picks after picks, and like obviously Malik Neighbors is a hit, but it's like, I mean, that was handed to him.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't screw that one up. Well, I mean, you could, but they at least didn't overthink it too much. It's just this team is not drafted well. I would fire
Joe
Shane and then keep Dabble, but that won't happen. They're kind of attached hip to hip. So I'm taking the Panthers. You're taking the Giants. Now we're at the noon slate. We've got New England at Chicago. Chicago, kind of a team that's spiraling, to say the least.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like DJ Moore stuff happening over the last week with kind of how he's like, people are saying he's like giving up on the team with the way he's kind of acting. And I don't think that's totally off base. I mean, there was that one play, he just walks off the field.
Yeah, the play.
His like body language is just like bad. Like Caleb Williams is like hurt, and then he just like shoulder checks him. And it's like, I get maybe Fields was his guy, but it's, come on, man. Like, this is your new quarterback. And it's really not on him. It's on the fact that you have a terrible head coach and a terrible offensive coordinator that I don't know how in the world you got hired.
I don't know. I don't know how Matt Eberflus kept his job last year either.
I still think about the Jackson Smith and Jigba clip where it's like the Seahawks like podcast or whatever. They're like, what can we expect from Shane Waldron? And he's like, is this live? And he's like, oh, he's great. He's great. It's like, dude, he hated him. And it's true. Like, you see the passing charts and the route charts. It's just, it doesn't do anything special with it. And like Roma Dunze has probably been the best receiver for them for the last couple of weeks at this point. I mean, it's just, I don't know what they do with DJ Moore. I wouldn't trade him, obviously.
No, but
in the offseason. But if it's like you get a new offensive coordinator, but if you go in the offseason and this is like an extremely toxic situation, I think you have the leverage, like where you have Roma Dunze there, you have Cole Kmet, like you could potentially trade DJ Moore if it's like incredibly toxic and he's just like killing the culture of a new coach. But I'm going to take Chicago to win this game. Oh, another thing is that I saw was that this is the Chicago Bears, the last three quarterbacks they've drafted. They have fired a head coach each after rookie years every single time. Like, so like
it was John Fox, and then it went to Matt Nagy, and then Matt Nagy went to Matt Eberflus, and then Eberflus is going to go to another person because like Ben Johnson is not lasting unless something crazy happens. He is not lasting after this season.
This win against New England's not going to save him. They'll win this game because their defense is good and New England's not. But it doesn't matter. Like they were in a good position in the way that these last two games have gone. Obviously, the Hail Mary, and then just getting absolutely boat raced by the chart. Like the Cardinals, who I think are a good team. They're not a team that should be beating you 29-0. They're like a scrappy. They're about the team that like what you should be. Is like Jonathan Gannon is a defensive coach who doesn't have a lot of talent on his he has a significantly less talent on his defense, but he has his players actually playing for him and he's winning games. Like Jonathan Gannon, I think is the right guy. Which
the Cardinals' run game has been doing well, and that's what's been really been driving.
Look at that. I'm going to read you up the Bears schedule fast.
Yeah.
After the Packers game, after the Patriots game, they play the Packers and they play the Vikings. Then they go to the Lions, to the Niners, to the Vikings. Play the Lions again, play the Seahawks, and then at the Packers. One win,
possibly because
in upset fashion.
I brought this up before. Like when they played the teams. Now, like I said, I was wrong by the stat, but when they played them, they were 1-win teams that they had beaten. They like, of course, like they beat the Rams, but the Rams were very beaten up when they played them. Yeah. But like they haven't really had great wins either. It's like. It was the fallacy going into the Commanders game where I was like, I think it's going to be a close one. I ended up picking the Bears. I was like, well, the Bears defense should at least keep them in the game. And they did. And they still failed. but like it's just showing like the coaching that like you still have talent, you still like invested. Ryan Poles has done an amazing job. I think Ryan Poles can keep his job because like obviously the Panthers trade looks good in his book, but they are a team that desperately needs a different culture, and that's not going to be with Matt Eberflus. You said Ben Johnson. I don't know if he goes there. Cliff Kingsbury is another option. Yeah, it depends. I kind of talked about that on Monday's stream with the Bears fan as well. I truly think that the Bears could be on the right track. They can be on the same as the track as the Cardinals, but they aren't right now because of their head coach.
I don't know. This
and also offensive coordinator.
This is an attractive spot if you were a head coach. Probably will be the most attractive opening, unless there's some shock firing. This will more than likely be the most attractive opening. You got a talented quarterback, good defense. You've got weapons in place. It's really just you got to fix the play calling, got to fix the culture, and got to fix the offensive line. Yeah. And you have the picks to do. The picks and the money to do the offensive line stuff. So
yeah, I'm also taking the Bears too. If you haven't guessed, because Patriots are Patriots.
Then we have Buffalo going to Indianapolis. Who are you taking in this one?
I'm taking Buffalo. Like I said, I think we're both going to agree on this one. The Colts are in a really rough spot as far as like obviously with Anthony Richardson starting, like is very inaccurate. There's some splash plays, but like there's nothing. It's not going to be consistent enough that you could be like, okay, we can obviously win with this. It's kind of like win by default. With Joe Flacco, you were hoping that it would like bring some kind of stability, but it didn't last week. Last week was a couple of arm punts by him against a very good Vikings defense, and I think the Bills have a really good defense as well. They have like obviously they don't have what they had in years past with injuries and people leaving, but they still have a good enough defense. So I think they can basically the offense is going to control this game. I think James Cook's going to have a great game. Even Ray Davis is probably going to have a great game as well. Because I think,
Unk's been cooking.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like I truly believe. I don't think that the Buffalo Bills are going to be good enough to beat the Chiefs. I hope they do next week, but in the playoffs, it's a whole different animal. But I think the Buffalo Bills are probably right now, I would say, the third best team in the AFC right now, behind the Chiefs and the Ravens.
Yeah, I'm taking Buffalo too. I just think there's a mismatch with how the Buffalo is going to run the ball versus the Indy's run defense. And is Anthony Richardson starting?
I think they're still going with Joe Flacco, if I'm correct, because they kind of committed.
So then I have zero faith in the Indianapolis running game because it's been terrible with Joe Flacco because it's like whatever. But I think Buffalo's going to win this game. Josh Allen has been playing really good football. He's obviously still in the MVP race. Buffalo's just a good team. Indianapolis, I just don't think is really a good team at this point. I like Shane Steichen, but I think he's incredibly mismanaged. This quarterback stuff. Like Anthony Richardson has what 10 starts?
I think because he had
he started
4
games,
3 or 4 games last year, and then
he missed.
He was hurt. Yeah,
I think it's like 10 starts under his belt, which is like that's as many as like Caleb Williams. Like he's basically like what Caleb Williams and Bo Nix and all them are. It's like he's got the same amount of starts.
And he didn't have that many starts at Florida either because of Daniel.
He had Jones. He had like 14 starts at Florida or something like that. 16 starts. Like this is a raw player. Let him play. Like what are you selling for? Like Joe Flacco starting. Like you're like, we're gonna make it into the wild card and then get boat raced.
Because here's the thing. Like as a Panthers fan, we bench Bryce because obviously there was a confidence thing. There was plays to be made that he wasn't making, and now that he has time that he has sat, he actually looks better now. Like is he really really good? No, but he's doing decent to good in some of the games we played, especially this past game. Yes, it's better Saints team, but he still made really good throws. Sometimes wide receivers didn't catch it, but that's still getting chemistry. So I understand from that aspect in the Bryce situation. But Bryce also had 2 full years at Bama. He also had a whole entire rookie season too. Anthony Richardson doesn't have that, so he's going to have a lot of bumps and bruises that you desperately need to kind of work out the kinks and kind of just deal with it. So I agree. It's not the same situation, but I've seen some people say like, "Oh, we should act like Bryce," and like it's not the same exact ordeal.
Yeah, Next we have Denver at Kansas City.
Yep.
I'm just gonna keep running with the Chiefs, man. I hate it.
I know.
I hate it. They keep getting teams are like, oh, let's just
don't go
try
for
and beat
two.
them. Let's try and beat them in overtime. Like, have you learned nothing? Like, you're not gonna beat this team in overtime. You're not. Like, you're always gonna lose the coin flip because of course you will, and then they'll march down the field. Even if by some miracle you do win the coin flip, they'll stop you. Like, just try and beat the team in over. Like, if you had gone for two and didn't get it, people would be a lot like nicer to you, Todd Bowles. But that was a stupid decision, an idiotic decision. Like, you needed to win that game because your team is reeling right now. And your schedule, it doesn't get that much easier. So, or I mean, I guess it does, but you get both the Niners and then it's easier. But like, I'm still pissed about that. But Kansas City's going to win this game. They're the best team in the league right now. They're just finding ways to win. The offense,
Their defense is amazing.
The defense has not let up 27 points since the Super Bowl against the Eagles. Yeah. That was also the last time they let up a 300-yard passer. Like,
and it's not going to change with Bo Nix, I can tell you that much.
No. So Kansas City is going to win. Their offense is getting better. Travis Kelce's really coming on. Hopkins looks like a great addition. Mm-hmm. They can run the ball with Kareem Hunt. They're just a wagon. And Denver was a good feel-good story. I think they're coming back down to earth a little bit. So Kansas City is going to kind of beat them pretty badly, I think, here and there.
I mean, yeah, like once your defense got absolutely obliterated by the Ravens, I truly think that maybe Kansas City relies a little bit more on Kareem Hunt this game. He did pretty good against the Buccaneers defense as well. But yeah, I'm going with the Chiefs as well. They've been dominating of the Broncos for the last pretty much since 2015. After the 2015 season, like I think the Broncos have won once against the Chiefs since then because they had that long streak and then it was finally broken last year. Like I said, I feel like the Broncos still like have one more year before they're actually like good again because Bo Nix has been coming on strong, but he's still a rookie. He's going to make rookie mistakes, especially against his really good defense. So I truly think that Kansas City is going to win by like probably 10 to 13 points.
Then we have your division matchup.
Yes.
Atlanta at New Orleans. New Orleans will have a new head coach. Atlanta's been winning a bunch of
Darren
games.
Rizzi, the special teams coordinator.
Who are you taking in this one?
I know that even though technically, usually when there's an interim head coach, like the first game's like a bump, I still don't think it's going to be enough. You're too injured. You already traded away Marshawn Lattimore. I'm going to take the Falcons. I think anytime there's like these kind of games, is always or division games is always kind of crazy. So I think it's going to be a lot closer than people are going to anticipate. But I think the Falcons are going to be a little bit of a roll. They're really hoping that the Buccaneers continue to lose some games so they can kind of coast into winning this division because they already have the sweep of the Buccaneers. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But I think Falcons should win this. Younghoe Koo is probably going to, I would say, Younghoe Koo is probably going to kick about 2 or 3 field goals and then have like a 6-point lead for the Falcons to win.
Yeah, I'm also going to take the Falcons. I just don't think this is a good team. And the Saints, I don't think they're going to really move the ball super effectively. Their defense is not going to be that good, especially trading away. I know he's been hurt, but they're probably their best player at this point. So I just don't. Atlanta's been playing good. I don't know if Drake London's playing or not. He got banged up obviously last week, but it doesn't matter. The Falcons are going to win this game. And kind of will have a stranglehold on the division now. If they win this game, they'd be 7-3.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and if the Bucs lose, then you're pretty much
out of it. Good segue into San Francisco at Bucs. I'm taking San Francisco to win this game. I don't really trust the Bucs with no receivers. Pretty much, I think Baker's playing okay. I don't think the defense of the Bucs has been great. I think the linebackers have been pretty bad. Levante David has regressed pretty heavily. And I don't think Todd Bowles is that good of a coach. I know the Niners have been struggling, obviously, but the last thing I saw of them was, they kind of beat down the Cowboys. The score is not as close as the game was. So I'm going to take San Francisco to win this game. I just think, Christian McCaffrey's probably playing this week, is what they said. So obviously that's going to be a huge get and changes their offense significantly, even if he's only like 75%.
Mm-hmm. I am actually going to surprise you here, and I'm going to go with the Bucks. Here's the thing: both teams are very battered. Obviously, it's been talked about how much the 49ers have lost. Like, obviously, Aubrey being out, and then a lot of the other injuries. You're hoping that Christian McCaffrey comes back, but is he going to come back and be amazing his first game back? I don't know yet, so I'm still kind of like waiting to see how that goes. I think that the Bucks team that I've seen the last couple of weeks are opportunistic. It just comes down to, is Todd Bowles going to make the right decision? Oftentimes he hasn't, but I think Baker Mayfield's going to have a pretty good game. I'm interested to see Fred Warner against K-Dot. K-Dot, who's been a really good, made some strides at the last couple of weeks, especially last week, had a really great game. So it'll be interesting to see how Baker Mayfield goes against this defense. I think Nick Bosa against I think I'm trying to remember how to say his name, but like Goddard, the right tackle for the Bucks, is going to be a big mismatch. But ultimately, I'm just hoping and praying that the Bucks do win. So it still is not like, oh, the Falcons are easily going to win this division. I still want it to be like important games going into late December into January for the division, because obviously Falcons should still win it. But in my mind, this game is more of a toss-up. I'm going to go with the Bucks, but I'm not super confident about it. I'm just more hopeful.
Yep. And then where I just lost my spot. Pittsburgh. Yeah, it's still another game. Pittsburgh at Washington.
Yep.
This is a tough game. Like I've been thinking about
I was going back and forth on this one too.
This is a tough game because Pittsburgh has a really good defense. Pittsburgh's coming off a bye, right? Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Washington what did they do this week? They just beat the Giants.
And the Bears the previous week.
Yeah, just straight from Marshawn Lattimore. I don't think he's going to play this week, though.
No.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I'm going to go with the Steelers.
I am too.
I think the defense is going to come through. I think the offense is playing really good under Russ. Surprise, surprise. Russ is not the worst quarterback ever. He was a really good quarterback in Seattle, and he's kind of showing that he actually was a good quarterback. He just got put in a situation where Sean Payton's like, hey, throw over the middle of the field all the time. And Russ is like, dude, I'm 5'10". Like, it's like, no. He's throwing outside the numbers. He's playing really good to like George Pickens and those guys like that. They just
got Mike Williams as well. It's going to benefit him as well.
They can run the ball. They have a great defense. They're well coached. It's a good team. And I think Washington's also a very good team. I just think they're a little less talented. I think obviously Jaden Daniels is a better quarterback, and he's been playing better in the season as a whole. But I think this is one where the talent gap might show a little bit.
I also chose the fact of like the Pittsburgh Steelers having a bye week. I think their defense is going to try to have like a lot of tricks for Jaden Daniels. As good as Jaden Daniels has been, he's still a rookie. I think that obviously TJ Watt is going to be a huge impact against this game because like the offensive line for the Commanders isn't good. It's down to Cliff Kingsbury, who's been devising up a scheme to kind of like short, quick passes, been helping out Jaden Daniels, obviously. But I don't know if you're going to have that against the Steelers defense that, like we said, incredibly good. I think that if the Steelers can be able to establish a run game, obviously those play action passes, those moon balls that Russ throws to George Pickens, who's going to absolutely dominate Forbes because he's trash. I really think that the Steelers are going to come out, establish the run game, control the game, kind of frustrate Jaden Daniels in the pocket, and ultimately going to get a win. And people are going to start talking about the Steelers. And I think that they have a very rough stretch going into from I think past week 10 onward. They have a really hard stretch. So it'll be interesting to see how they go. But going against the Commanders, I think if they just have strength versus weakness against the Commanders, and they're going to get this win.
Yeah. I'm also like, you give a really good coach and Mike Tomlin a bye week. Like they're going to be good coming out of that bye week. Generally, is how it goes. Our final noon slate game. This I'll say Minnesota at Jacksonville. This could be the game that gets Doug Peterson fired.
Yes.
Especially with it being at Jacksonville. If they lose bad, he's gone either way. Like he's not keeping his job. I mean, fingers crossed he keeps his job as a Texas fan, but he's not going to keep his job. He's just kind of dead man. I don't know if they're like, oh, we don't want to fire the coach in the middle of the season. If that's kind of their deal. But at a point, you kind of do. Like, you don't want to ruin Trevor Lawrence more than you're already ruining him because he is still your guy.
Well, I mean, what really changed for like interim coach coming in?
Yeah, like this is still. I'm picking Minnesota, by the way. I don't think there's much that you have to say really on this game. Jacksonville's been one of, if not the worst team in the league. They are 2-7. I think right now they're top like fourth. I'm going to Tankathon.
No, so we're fourth. They're 2. Jacksonville's number 2. It's Patriots, them,
Patriots, Jacksonville, New Orleans, and then y'all.
Yeah.
So they're 2 right now. Like they are very well in line for a top 5 pick. This is this will be an attractive job. Still with Trevor Lawrence.
With Trent Baalke being gone, because I truly think they're a package deal. They're gone. That's the reason why I said that Ben Johnson could go to the Jaguars.
Please don't.
Because he could have his own GM.
Please don't.
I that's my feeling. But
I would go to Chicago first.
Well, the NFC North is a lot harder because he had to go against his former team. But I'm also going with the Vikings, mainly because I think that this defense is going to be a very hard ask of Trevor Lawrence. Obviously, you can talk about like, well, they almost beat the Eagles. Well, that's also because Nick Sirianni is stupid. Why you keep on going for 2? Like you could have made it a very easy game for you, but instead you almost go to the wire. Like there's talent on this Jacksonville's team that you can still see, but coaching and just like obviously Trevor Lawrence has been playing up to what he was billed as yet. I still think that the Vikings are going to be good enough. They can try to keep themselves alive in this NFC North race. Ultimately, they're going to fail, but I think that this is too much of a talent gap that Minnesota, especially Justin Jefferson, is going to have a great day. I hope he doesn't because I'm going to get some fantasy, but he is.
Like Jacksonville has some talent on this team. Evan Ingram's good. Christian Kirk's solid. Brian Thomas has been really good as a rookie. I think Trevor Lawrence is solid. I like Tank Bigsby. The offensive line's bad. On defense, you've got 2 good edge rushers in Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen. You've got Tyson Campbell in the secondary, who's alive. Devin Lloyd, solid linebacker in the middle. It's just outside of any of those players. Yeah, like outside of any of the outside of any of those, there is like no talent, and there is no depth behind them.
No, because Trent Baalke is awful drafting.
Yeah, this is a team that has incredibly, they've been injury prone. They don't have depth, and they don't have the talent trickled throughout the whole. Like they have some top end talent, but they don't have like a base of like, oh, we have enough. And that's been the main problem with this team. And hey, who knows? Like maybe they can clean some cap this year. I think they'll cut some big guys. They just traded Cam Robinson to the Vikings, so he'll face off with his new team. But I don't know. Jacksonville, I like talking about them because I think that they're just a mess, and it's fun to dunk on them.
It's fun to think back to when early on last year when they were like, "Hey, Trevor Lawrence, how do you feel about C.J. Stroud doing really well? Like for time to come, like your rivalry is going to become big in a division." And then to now, where they completely collapsed last year, and then now they look absolutely abhorrent.
They're like what 2-14 in like their last 16 games, something like that.
Yeah, no, the 3 because let's see, they beat us in their long stretch, and then they have 2 wins this year because there's 2-7, so 3 and something in the last however many that they lost from that like 6-3 or what they 7-3 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And they lost out or almost lost out. So they're in a bad spot. But next game we have is we're going into the afternoon slate. Again, another afternoon slate where they only have 3 games. don't understand it. And really only one of these games is going to be super entertaining. You got Tennessee at the Chargers. I'm taking the Chargers.
Yeah.
Tennessee's not a good team. Chargers are a well-coached team. They're kind of like what I think Jacksonville could have been, like where they have holes, they have some players, but they actually have a good coach. They have a better quarterback, and they know they have an identity. That's what Jacksonville doesn't have, is an identity. And Chargers know what they are. They know what they're going to do, and they're going to win this game. And Chargers they might sneak into the playoffs. So
I truly am excited. I'm excited to see what the Chargers are going to do, especially coming up into the next year, because I think they're still close. I don't think they're there yet. Like obviously they're going to beat up on like the bad teams like the Titans and Browns. But I do think that when it comes to go against good teams, they're still not quite there yet. But it's a very fun team to watch, especially because like they're just good fundamentals. And that's what you have with a hardball coach team. Greg Roman, and also I'm trying to think of the defensive coordinator, head coach, defensive coordinator job, a defensive coordinator name. He was at Michigan. He's a really good coach too. Expect him in especially next year, probably going to get a head coaching look because he's not going to stay there long. But I'm taking the Chargers as well. They should win this game pretty easily.
Yeah. Next game is a NFC East. It's like the NFC East rivalry. The Cowboys are hosting the Eagles. I mean, again, this one's not. I think the Eagles are a better team. The Cowboys are. Now, this game I think will be close because it's a rivalry. Actually, no, I lied because Dak is not starting. If this game is close, Nick Sirianni is on the hot seat. Even though
he already is, but yeah.
I don't think he's actually on the hot seat. I think Philly fans just want him to be on the hot seat. But Philly's going to win this game. There's a talent gap. And the Cowboys season is done. I think Dak is going to go on IR is what they're saying. So this season for the Cowboys is over, and hopefully this kind of season of the Cowboys is over. In the fact, like the Mike McCarthy era, maybe the Dak era, we'll see.
Well, they just signed Dak to a huge contract.
Yeah, but you can trade him.
Well, who's going to take that contract though? So no. We don't have the money. But yeah, no, like the Eagles should definitely win this game. I'm interested to see how Cooper Rush is going to do. Usually, like when someone comes in, like it might be like a little bit of a spark, but like this is just not a good team. It's not. And Jerry was like, "Oh, we're going to make some moves." They traded for Jonathan Mingo, and they gave up way more than they should have. I'm super grateful for it. Thank you for getting a 4th round pick. Because you're going to suck, and it's probably going to be if you continue to suck, it's going to be at least top 7. So top 7 4th round pick for Jonathan Mingo, who was basically a wide receiver 4. Like the fact that Jalen Coker took over for him, so you have Xavier get Jalen Coker. When Adam Thielen comes back, he's going to be at least like wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, and then you also have David Moore, who is also getting more snaps than Jonathan Mingo. So thank you for the 4th. But yeah, no, like the Eagles should win this one. I think Saquon's going to have a really great game. But the Cowboys, I am so lost on what your trajectory is going to be, because are you going to end up trying to pay Micah Parsons? Well, you can't really pay Micah Parsons because basically next year, like 50% of your cap is tied up in Dak and CD. That's what's crazy about it, and you have no depth. So
and you haven't drafted particularly well.
No, like I there are some Cowboys fans that I feel bad for. Other ones that I'm like, you get kind of what you deserve. But
Joker moment.
It's You
talk about the Joker. You get what you deserve.
But yeah, no, the Eagles should absolutely stomp the Cowboys.
And the final afternoon slate game is the Jets at the Cardinals.
Mm-hmm.
This is a tougher one too.
I was going back and forth too.
I've been riding with the Card. I've taken them in the last 4 weeks, I think, or every game. I've taken the last 3 weeks.
I think it's the last 3, yeah.
And I've been right the last 3 weeks, and so I'm going to keep riding with them until I lose, which probably will be this week. So
I'm also taking the Cardinals.
I'm going to take the Cardinals just because it's like, hey, I like the vibes. I don't know. And I like Jonathan Gannon, and I kind of just like this team. I think they're kind of fun, scrappy team. So I'm going to take the Cardinals. I don't really have a particular reason why. I think that the Jets are more talented. I think the Cardinals are better coached. I think they have the better quarterback, and that's what I guess matters to me. So.
And also the fact that the Cardinals can run the ball. Like if they, in my mind, I'm big in the Cardinals because I feel like if they can get a run game going against a defense that has not been good against the run, I truly think that the Cardinals have a chance to win this. Right now, they're leading the NFC West. They have wins against the 49ers and against the Rams. So right now, like if they continue to like sneak some of these wins. I'm just saying, like it's surprising. I don't know if they'll be able to keep it up, but like I said, it's a fun team to watch. And we both said going into the season that we didn't know if they were ready just yet. But the way that they're playing under Jonathan Gannon, who they had a talent gap, heck, they had like how many sacks they had against the Bears? It was a ridiculous amount of sacks. They have not really been getting any kind of sacks the whole entire year. But I'm super excited for this Cardinals team. I'm finally going on the bandwagon with you. I'm finally picking them too because I didn't pick them last week.
No,
maybe they could, but I'm picking the Cardinals as well.
And then we go into our night game, where I get to watch my team get
decimated
for the second straight week. I love it.
Yeah.
That my team is going to suck it up in prime time. Nico probably back. Will Anderson probably not back. It's going to get ugly pretty quick, I think. I don't have much to say. The good thing is like the Texans, there's going to be good changes. I mean, if Bobby Slowick's not gone, I don't know. And here's what I want to say about Bobby Slowick. I'm not going to go into a tangent. He's a good play designer, not a good play caller. He can design good plays, but he doesn't know how to protect his own schemes. Texans not going to be serious with his offensive line. I'm taking the Lions. The line is 3.5. I would be throwing my mortgage on that. The Lions are going to win by 14.
I think David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs are going to have outstanding games. I truly think that they're going to have great games. And then Aleem McNeil, who's having like an outstanding season. Him pairing with DJ Reader was such a great move by the Lions. I truly think that the Lions are going to absolutely dismantle the Texans. People are going to be calling the Texans frauds, which they're already calling them frauds.
Frauds.
Yeah. And so the Texans continue on the path of getting up quality wins against winning teams that unless something serious happens, like with the Lions, they should be the NFC North winners, and they should be the first overall seed.
Yeah. NFC North.
Oh, sorry, NFC North. Sorry about that.
Yeah. The one thing I'm hoping for here from Houston is that it's either a close game or they get blown out so badly on offense. Like, I'm not worried about the defense. Like, even without Will Anderson, it's going to be tough to make this competitive because he's your best player on defense. You're also probably might be out some of your linebackers. So, like, I think D'Amico's done a good job on defense. I'm hoping the offense is so bad for a second week on primetime where it's like you can't deny changes. Like, they didn't do anything at the deadline, and that's fine, honestly, by me. Texas fans were freaking out about it. Teams don't give up quality offensive linemen like they do receivers and running. Like, that's not a position that's you're going to really be able to find and address easily at the deadline.
You're telling me you couldn't get Cam Robinson, though? But the Vikings were shopping Cam Robinson.
We need an interior.
Exactly.
So, yeah. But it's like, that's not a position teams just give up. So, yeah, we're probably not going to but we'll address that in free agency in the draft. Like, I'm not worried about that. That's going to be fixed next year. Or at least they'll make an attempt to fix it.
The offensive line, defensive line class this upcoming draft is really.
I mean, we don't need defensive line. That's the good thing. It's just we need offensive line. But it's like, I'm just saying.
Well, I
hope I hope that the play calling is so bad for a second straight week, because I think that was like the first time people have realized nationally how bad it actually is,
And how bad your offensive line
and how
is.
bad the offensive line. People were like, "Oh, the Texans are not doing as much as they should on offense." Stroud having a slump, like tiny bit, but like, what is he supposed to do? Like, bro gets hammered within 3 seconds.
Quinny Williams had 2 straight sacks against Green. Like,
he suplexed Quinn, like he lifted up Kenyon Green and ended a season by throwing it. It's like, I don't want to go on a tangent or anything, but I'm just saying, my hope is that it's so bad that like it's like, okay, we can't roll with this offensive staff next year. Not the offensive players, the offensive staff, because D'Amico has been really loyal to his guys and his players to a fault, especially Kenyon Green. He was really loyal to him, and then God was like, "I'm sorry, man, I can't have this anymore." God had to step in on that one, but I'm just hoping that I'm hoping that it's so bad that he's like, okay, we can't keep running Slowick out here. So, Clint Kubiak, welcome to the Texans. And then, but we're both taking Detroit, right?
Yes.
Obviously. Yeah, I'm taking Detroit by like 15. So, and then our final game of the week is the Monday night matchup. Not a bad Monday night matchup, actually. Pretty solid.
I kind of like it. It's going to be offensive for sure.
I love the Rams is my NFC team. Like, you know that. That's like my NFC team, because of my AFC team's the Texans, obviously. Like, if I have to choose a secondary team, it's the Rams. Got Miami at Los Angeles. I'm taking the Rams, man. I'm just going to keep rolling with them. They didn't trade Kupp, which makes me think they know that they can be competitive. And they're number one in the division, or are they number one or number two?
No, number two. Because the Cardinals beat them, yeah.
Yeah, they're the number 2 in the division right now, and they're like in line for a playoff spot. Like, it's a team that's dangerous. And if they win this game, they're 5-4 with games against the Patriots and the Saints coming up. So, like, they could be looking like a pretty good team. And like, this offense wasn't awesome last week, but it's pretty good offense, and they're going to get healthier because their offensive line is only getting healthier. So I'm taking the Rams to win 26-21. 26-24.
Okay. So I am also taking the Rams, mainly because I feel like we've talked about it before. This is a very young defensive line for the Rams, but a very talented defensive line for the Rams, who, like, going against Geno Smith, they absolutely put a lot of pressure on him. Very bad offensive line for the Seahawks. This is a bad offensive line for the Dolphins as well, that I think that they're going to be able to apply pressure, put two in some bad spots, but the secondary isn't the best. I am going to go with the Rams, but I think that it's going to be a high-scoring game because I think Tua is going to he's going to get sacked a couple of times, but I think he's going to have overall have a pretty good game. I'm going 31-27 for the Rams. Like I said, I think that it's going to be a higher scoring game. I think it's like both really good offenses. I was concerned 2 weeks ago with the Dolphins when Tua came back, and I was like, I want to see how he does when he's come back. But it just shows like you truly do need defensive help, but your offensive line is what's going to hold back your offense, because your offense can be explosive when Tua is in there and he's firing all cylinders. But yeah, so I'm taking Rams 31-27. I'm super duper excited for that game. I think it's going to be like, if you're a fantasy owner of any of these players, be ready for some fireworks. That's for sure.
Yeah. So teams that were on bye this week, obviously Cleveland, Green Bay, Vegas, and Seattle. Two good teams and two bad teams. So, but like, this is the kind of the final week where obviously trade deadline happens, so no one's going to be trading anymore. But this is like really where we should see some separation for wild card, or really kind of see it become clear. Like, we know who the good teams are at this point in the season.
We know who the bad teams are for sure.
There's going to be like the one thing I will say is like the bottom of the NFL is not going to shake itself out. Like, that's going to come down to week 18 to see who might get the number 1 pick. Or like who might even be in the top 5. Like, you could be lined up for pick number 2 and going into week 18, and then you win, and then all of a sudden you're picking 8.
That's the reason why I'm
Like,
saying, like, literally, like, for the Panthers, if we win against the Giants, we could go from 4 all the way down to 8 and then not be able to move up because we don't
like
have any more of those tank bowl kind of games like other teams do outside
yeah,
of the Giants.
like there was that like big thing obviously a couple years ago with the Texans where they beat the Colts week 18, but they dropped from 1 to 2. Like there's a chance you could be picking 1 and then drop outside of top 5 with how congested the top of this thing is.
Yeah.
Which like the good thing is there's not like a premier quarterback, so you're not like it's not a huge quarterback class. It's like it's more pick your own poison with position players
Defensive
like
line
defensive
helps.
linemen, wide receivers, offensive tackles. Like that's where it's going to be really dominated of defense tackles, edge rushers, wide receivers, tackles in the first couple picks, and there'll be some cornerbacks mixed in there depending on what they draft Travis Hunter for, Will Johnson. But like we'll figure that out week 18. Like there's no point even talking about it now because we don't even know. But you got anything else to add, Ryan?
Uh, Nothing much. Like, super grateful for the Panthers to win, seeing the Saints fans being upset, and then them finally do what they should have done a while ago, and that's fire Dennis Allen. I was so close to my prediction. I said week 10, they fired him week 9, but still very, very happy for my Panthers. But for our draft sake, don't win anymore.
Yeah, but that's all we have for this week's episode. I think we're gonna have to figure out what we're doing for the playoff push, but that should start next week. Because then we'll have 6 weeks, 7 weeks after that. But thank y'all for watching and see you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.